data in order to empower the front office to engage with customers, as well as give management some semblance of control. Now, in my career, I've managed several large consumer and high-tech businesses. And the thing that always frustrated me was the lack of transparency into front office operations, particularly sales. So I formed a team about a year ago and bootstrapped the company to this stage here today. Now, social media and cloud are hugely disruptive to the enterprise status quo, literally upending the traditional management hierarchy onto its head and freeing the front office to embrace and engage with consumers and customers in ways hard to imagine. With that opportunity comes significant risk to the management team. If you don't know what's going on, you can't manage it. And that problem is no more acute than in sales process. So if you think about selling, you think about CRM applications, and organizations spend $13 billion a year on CRM apps. But as the graphic shows, it's garbage in, neatly packaged garbage out. Two reasons for that. Number one, compliance. Sales reps don't comply with the corporate policy to put the data in the application. It's a chore. Nobody wants to do it. They want to sell. Secondly, if they do put the data in, they don't keep the information current. So if you're management and you're trying to run a pipe, what you need to do is a lot of proctology in order to get to an answer. So the question for a small startup is where to focus. And the question we wanted to answer was, will I make my quarter? Doesn't matter if you're a rep or management, you want to know the answer to that question. And so it's with great pleasure that I get to announce the availability of the foretuit beta application for sales reps, available free on foretuit.com. And to demonstrate, Dan Foodie, our CTO, and I are going to role play. I'll be the director, sales director, and Dan will be the sales rep. Dan, take it away. How's your quarter?
Great, Michael. Well, let me get in there and I'll show you how my quarter is in a moment. As a sales rep, though, let me back up a little bit and tell you what I did to get started here. I downloaded the foretuit plugin, let it run, and within 5 minutes, I was up and running. No IT involvement, nothing, to be able to get ready to actually be prepared to deal with my proctology exam here with Michael. Now, what foretuit was doing, it was taking all of the unstructured data, all of my emails, activities, IMs, contacts, putting that information, combining it with my sales pipeline to build a predictive model about the way I sell that tells me whether I'm going to succeed or whether I'm going to fail on certain deals. And so, Michael, you had the question of how am I doing? Well, last time we talked, I told you I was going to close another $220,000 this quarter. Actually, well, it may not look like it. Foretuit is telling me that I'm actually not going to close that deal. So let's find out why that is. What I'm looking at now is my sales pipeline. So these are all of the deals that I need to close. The most important ones are the ones between today and the end of the quarter. So I've got 3 deals I need to close to make my numbers for the quarter. Unfortunately, one of these 3 deals is the reason that I'm not going to make it. The deal that's in red here, Foretuit is telling me is at risk. So we need to drill into that and see why this deal is at risk. Now, this is where the Foretuit engine really starts to pay off. What it's telling me is why this deal might not close. It's saying the deal might slip. That means it might be delayed in closing, in particular because the legal team haven't been engaged enough. Now, in the particular way that I sell, legal's an important component of that, and Foretuit recognized that so that it could say there's an issue here. So let's find out what's going on with legal. To do that, we're going to go into a timeline view. This is the view of everything going on around this particular sales opportunity. So for everyone who's involved in the opportunity, from me, the sales rep, through all the people on my team in blue, to all of the people in the company I'm selling to in orange here, the buyers, their legal team, I'm seeing everything they're doing. So every mark on this graph is some form of communication we've had back and forth. So for example, there's a contract review. But Foretuit was telling me there's a problem with legal, so we're going to look at the legal line here, Nancy Flanders, who's the customer's legal rep. And what we see is that Nancy hasn't done anything for the last 2 weeks. Even though our last communication with her was that we were going to schedule a follow-up, nothing happened after that. And so we're able to show all of the details about what's going on. So what foretuit let me do was go all the way from, I've got a problem with my pipeline, I'm not going to meet my quarter, to know exactly why. Foretuit also has a whole bunch of tools that help me figure out why and how to repair the problem with my pipe, but we'll leave those to the final till you guys bring us back.
So the point here is that it was intense. The sales rep was able to triage his own pipe, come up with his own solution, and in a very clear manner, visual, show the manager he's in control, and that's what we have. So it's on our website free right now, and our engine is incredibly predictive. All right, what we're seeing is 89% correctly classified in terms of the deals 3 months in advance of where things stand. So that's it.
You good? Okay. Round of applause for foretuit. Okay. We lost Greg Seng very briefly. I hope someone turned off his mic. Otherwise, this is going to be awkward. Let's jump to Mike.
All right. So I'm a little confused. You said it took 5 minutes to set up. There's a shitload of data in there. Where'd all that data come from?
It's a desktop tool that the rep downloaded. It extracted the Salesforce data, opportunity data, and it sucked out their Outlook data. So from the desktop, and then we populated the tool.
So the part that I don't get is if the problem with Salesforce and the existing applications is that the data in them are shit, then you suck that out and you put it into a different application. Isn't the data still shit?
No. So the key thing that we're doing is aligning the communication between the different roles in the organization. So that's all in Outlook. So that's the current behavior. That's what they normally do day in, day out. No change. The opportunity record has just the name, that there's an opportunity, that there's an assumed value, that there's an assumed decision date, and it's been assigned to a specific rep. And what we're doing is aligning that information with the communication information with that opportunity record. That's the only piece that we're taking. So there is a lead that's placed into the CRM. Now, I don't know if the decision date is correct or the value that they're placing on the deal, but I do know that the customer's name and the rep's name is correct.
So really the predictive engine is working primarily off of the email and all of the other activity that's going on, not the garbage that's manually entered into a CRM. So it's real accurate view of what's happening in that sales cycle.
Beth?
I was going to follow on the same thing. I'm trying in my head to get around a good sales manager is going to have as predictive analytics in their brain as this. Make a pitch to me as a sales manager why I should have this.
So what sales managers do is they spend 20 to 30% of their week basically doing proctology. All right? And so they're bringing the reps in and they're trying to figure out some version of the truth.
But
and they have to ask the right questions in order to get the right answers.
They know where the pipeline is. They know the history. They know this sales guy's always late.
The data, there's two things, right? If you ask any CRM expert, the data's crap. It's not being put into the CRM system. It's not being kept up to date. And so that's the problem.
It tells you have an opportunity. What it doesn't tell you is what the rep is actually doing about that. That's all you're interrogating the sales rep. And sales rep's job is to sell. They sell as much to their managers as they do to the customer. So you don't actually, as a sales manager, have a real idea of what the rep is actually doing. You're just listening to what they're telling you they're doing. This gets you to the actual view of what they're actually doing around it.
So why free? Seems like salespeople and managers and their bosses are the ones that pay for applications.
Sure. So in terms of our initial beta, we're rolling out, think, single user license for a rep. We're trying to train our engine and build up our knowledge base, almost a sales genome. And so it's free to the rep. And then for the enterprise, that's our second product, and we'll be rolling that out in the fourth quarter of this year. And that product will aggregate across an entire sales team, and we'll charge per seat, per rep, per month for that product.
Scott?
I was just going where Michael was. I thought when you started out, I was getting excited that you were going to try and make this simpler, because you said that the problem is getting good data, and that nobody liked to enter the data. And then the data that you showed you know, it seems like for this to work really well, you need all of the data. You need perfect data for the prediction to work, for the insight piece.
Actually, what you need is an understanding of the different roles in the organization between the rep, the lawyer, the pricer, the finance guy, the buyer. If you understand those roles and how people interact, because it's a social network, it's a business network, and they're colleagues, they're working together, the patterns of interaction. So the point here is that if the lawyer wasn't engaged 5 times and the assumed close date was next week, that deal's not going to happen. And so if you understand those patterns of communication, that's what we're building. We're building a pattern engine to understand the sequences. We're scoring the sequences, and as it matures, it's able to make recommendations. It's able to help the rep get their job done. All right, without violating anything.
You still need to enter that the lawyer was pinged 5 times or something.
No, they don't have to enter any of that because they emailed the lawyer, they communicated. It's all there's a digital trace on everything that they do normally in their life. They've sent email, so that pattern, that like deal DNA that you saw,
phone calls too.
That's the pattern.
Phone calls too.
Yes, well, you can pull in, there's APIs for AT&T phone logs, text messaging, all of that information exists. So if you think about it, what Google and Facebook are doing on the consumer side in terms of monetizing your consumer self, we're operationalizing your business self.
You're asking a lot of the sales rep then in terms of behavior change.
No behavior change whatsoever. Just do what you normally do. It's all there. There's a digital trail around everything you do. There's no water cooler, that's gone. I mean, all this communication occurs.
We've got 20 seconds, so I want to just, Greg.
I just want to apologize for skipping out part of your presentation. All the talk about proctology made me have to take a bathroom break.
I did not think to put proctology into the drinking game. I didn't think it would come up as much as
That's what it feels like to a sales rep.
All right, and on that note, let's have one more round of applause for foretuit.
Thanks.
I did not expect the Tesla. I did not expect proctology. This is an